All right, I'm starting this on Monday at a little bit before 8 o'clock. I posted the link on Classroom. If you're watching this live, that's great. It looks like I've got a couple people, and I'll be looking at the chat if you have any questions. First, I'm going to start by just recapping where we are, making sure everybody knows the important stuff. I posted a doc on Classroom on Friday, I believe, that has all the dates coming up because I've been getting a lot of questions about that. We've got a week currently with e-learning. You'll have 2A and 2B, and this day, tomorrow, obviously it's election day, and it's also parent-teacher conference day, so we might have that going on. I am going to send out emails pretty soon to the parents to say, hey, here's what we've got. You can sign up. But the difference is that it's not in-person conferences. So you can do email, phone call, video chat, something like that. And it doesn't even have to be on that day. I'll do some today, and I'll probably do some later in the week as well. So I will send an email to all the parents, but then I'll also contact people individually and say, hey, I want to talk about some specific thing. So just hang on. Today, after we're done with this video, I'm going to go to the grade book and enter some more grades because I haven't done, for some of my classes, I've got it all caught up, but I think for this one I need quite a bit actually, so I'm going to work on that, and then we'll have more info. When we do the conferences, obviously I want to have the grades in there. Then after this week, we got 2 weeks that are just completely normal, 5 days in school, if you're signed up for in school. And in this week right here, the 16th, that's when we'll do most of the big tests and projects and stuff, because even though it's not the end, we don't want to do big things at the very end when you're not in person and there's not as much time afterwards to grade and make up and retake everything else. So plus at the end, I imagine that some people will be gone if they travel for Thanksgiving or something. So this week is when most of the big stuff will happen. For my class, we have a project, and I'm going to put the due date during this week, although obviously some people will finish before and some people will finish a little after, but this is what we're aiming for on all the big stuff. Then we got a short week with Thanksgiving, but we still have 2 days before, and then after it we've got a week of e-learning. But again, I don't want to save anything for the last minute, and I'm guessing most teachers don't want to save anything for the last minute, so they will have on those last few days they will have makeup, retake, bonus stuff. Probably, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but that's my guess. So let's look at our project. If you go to classwork, you can avoid all of those announcements and all those little schedule things and whatever. Classwork is just the assignments, just the tests, whatever matters. This contract one, I've got, it says 1, I've really got more turned in because people filled it out or asked questions or whatever. That's easy enough. But that says you declare who's on your team and who's doing what role. So we got somebody doing the code, HTML, JavaScript. We got somebody doing the quiz, content of the questions, making sure they make sense and they're well written and they fit the theme, and the spreadsheet integrates with the JavaScript. And then we got the design, the person who does the CSS code and decides the look, the colors, the picture, the arrangement, all of that. If you put your link to the Replit on here, then I can see it, but you can also use this for yourself. If you open this at the beginning of each class, it'll have everything you need. It might be nice. and then the link to your spreadsheet also, because that's a separate thing. It's not in the same package as the Replit. By the way, somebody asked, can you do this on CodeHS? Because you did the Q1 stuff in CodeHS. I think so. It would probably work because I think they have the same style of environment where you can run the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS all at the same time. So that probably works. Can you share it with people the way you can with Replit? Can you get exactly the same result? I don't know. I haven't tried it, but if somebody wants to, that would be cool, and just tell me how it goes. So if you go to this getting started assignment, that's where you'll have all the good stuff. So I've had a few people get past this and they don't need it anymore. That's totally fine. But I've had a few people each day ask me like, hey, where's that link? Where's the spreadsheet thing? Whatever. And it's all here on the getting started assignment, which is actually not an assignment. I'm not counting this for points. It's just I put it there because the assignment, the classwork section is just for all the good stuff, for all the big, important, permanent stuff that really matters. So if you are just starting, let's take a quick recap. Here's the page where you get the project details, the code, the tutorials, all of that. This is not something I made. This is a project as part of a thing called I Do, which is a IUPUI initiative to get people into computer science. And I did a thing with them over the summer, and they supply a lot of cool stuff. So if you hit this link right here, the template build tutorial, it'll give you everything you need to get set up. It'll say, hey, here's some HTML, copy this into a file, and here's what it does. And then it'll give you another page. Hey, here's some JavaScript, copy this into a file, and here's what it does. And so you are not just starting from a blank document. You are starting from a little bit of framework that works. Honestly, I would skip this video, but all the other videos in the series, those are pretty good. This is just describing what it is and what it looks like, and in my opinion, you can get that better from just seeing it in an example. So you have a welcome screen, which is in the template, extremely basic. It just says, hi, here's the thing. Let me show you. And I know some of you guys have passed this, but I want to have a video that's just like completely recapping everything so far and steps, so people have to watch 5 videos. So your welcome screen is this. On your final version, it should have more than this. It should say something about the theme. You know, your questions are going to be on a certain topic. They're going to be on, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh or something. And then you would say that, and you would say, here's a picture, and you would say, here are the rules, and it would be a nice cover / table of contents. If you want, you can add in other features, like you could have the person enter their name, or choose a category, or even choose a theme, like they could click red and then everything looks red, or they could click gray and everything looks gray. I see, by the way, I'm getting a little error on my YouTube that the streaming is not perfect, so it might look choppy, but I hope at least that the audio is good and then you can hear me. So after you click that, then you get to the question screen, and this is what you'll see multiple times because you will have multiple questions. On this, if you look around this project page, it asks for 20, but I'm saying 10. Since we're not spending the whole quarter on this, we're doing a slightly shortened version. I want to have 10 questions. Each one has 4 choices. You click one. If you do the right one, which this is going to be the right one, it says so. It kind of jumped ahead there. It was a little choppy, but it says, yeah, you got it correct. Changes the color, waits a few seconds, then goes to the next one. If I choose something wrong, let's choose the wrong one, then it highlights the right one and waits a second and goes on with different colors. Somebody asked me, can they change that? One of the groups asked if they could change the way that highlights. So instead of highlighting the right one, it highlights the one you clicked and says, no, that's wrong. And yeah, you absolutely can do that, but it would take a little bit of detective work. Let me look at mine, because I had one open that's a version of the tutorial. And then finally, I'm not going to click through all these, but after the end, it would say, here's a final screen with thank you. Maybe it shows your score. Maybe it shows any type of stats like your highest streak or your name. I would recommend having a little name thing at the beginning, like into your name, and then at the end it would say, oh, congratulations, Bob, you got this amount of points, and you got your best streak was 5 in a row or something like that. Again, just like the welcome was extremely lacking in the template, and I would recommend adding stuff. The thank you is pretty lacking in the template, and I would recommend adding more once you get the basics in there. So let's see, once this loads, I don't know if you guys heard that, but the bell just rang. I don't even know what that is. It's not the time a normal bell would ring. I got a question about the colors. Somebody, I think this was a group in 7th period, but I'm not sure. They wanted it to show, when you click on one, they wanted it to show the one you click. This is a mess because I was changing mine to see if it responded to certain things. So like if you click one, it'll highlight the right one and then move on, but this group wanted it to highlight the one you clicked, maybe red with an X or something, instead of the one that you should have clicked. So can you do that? Yeah, it would take a little bit of thought, because this is what happens when you click this function. I'm in the JavaScript file. This is called up when you click something. Well, if you do the correct, then it highlights the correct one. This hashtag correct answer is the current correct one, whatever you're on, whatever question you're on, whatever was in that correct column in the spreadsheet, that will get added to the highlight. We get the highlight class added onto it. Class being usually when you see the word class, it could be, there are classes in JavaScript and there are things that use the word class in HTML, but usually they're talking about CSS type stuff. They're adding the highlight style to the correct answer when you click on any of them. And so the person who wants to change that would have to change this line to make it, let's see, yeah, you might have to add a separate thing entirely to make it highlight the one that you clicked. This would have some connection to our Q1 stuff. When we made our pages in Q1, you had clicking buttons as part of it, and you can change the button itself. You could make it so that a button goes away when you click it, or gets bigger, or changes color. Because there are some buttons in various sites or programs that you can only click once. Like in Windows, when you have your OK, cancel, apply, after you make some changes and you hit apply, then it's gray and it doesn't become clickable again until you make other changes. It could be something like that. So you would use some of that. The only difference is you're not naming the specific button. You're saying whichever one gets clicked. So you'd have to figure out, what do you call the one that gets clicked? It's not called correct or incorrect, because incorrect would be all three of them. you'd have to figure out what do you call the one that gets clicked, and then you'd have to add a line that says, okay, this one gets a new class that's not highlight, because highlight is good. You might do one that's called highlight wrong or highlight bad or something like that, and you would add it in here as a new section here, and then call it up in here whenever you figure out what ID would connect to the one that got clicked. I'm not saying everybody has to do that, I'm just giving an example. If you go to, hang on, I'm getting a phone call. I'm going to answer it, I apologize, but I'm going to take a second. Hello? It should be on Staff Connect. That's the only one that you can use probably, and it would just use your username and password for you. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it would let that Chromebook onto GCCS, but we can always try. I'm doing some class stuff right now, so I'm not really able to go, but I might come look at it later. Okay. Yeah. Bye. Hey, look at this. I'm getting stuff in the chat. I'm gonna say something just for fun. Sorry about that. Anyway, if you look on this section, it has a lot of cool stuff. The tutorial, you go through this. I know it looks like a lot, but when you go through it, you will know what the parts do. So like, you won't just be copying pasting code mindlessly. Like if you go to the finished version and just like highlight it all and copy it, then you'll be really unprepared for what you need to change. But if you go to the tutorial and go through each step, it'll say, hey, here's what it means when we put X, Y, and Z, and here's why we're doing it, and why don't you copy this? And it's really well explained. So for example, they're talking about how this is a single page application. It will not go to a new URL every time. Like when I click a new question on here, it doesn't change anything in this. It's the same HTML doc, it's the same page, it's just displaying different stuff. And that's nice because it's what we did in quarter one. Our final project in quarter one was a good preparation for this. It had a button where you would make an image appear or make an image disappear or make something change color. That's what's happening on these, is that when I click question and it goes to the next one, it's just making this question hide, and then it's making this result thing visible and get a color and all of that stuff. So everything in quarter one you should still be using. It's not like we're starting a completely new language or anything. Now, if you go through this, it'll explain. The CSS is kind of new. We haven't done it, but honestly, it's really self-explanatory, and it's the least complicated code. Like if you look at the code, you're like, oh yeah, that's just English words. I can figure out what that means, you know. And you can always fiddle with it and see what happens. So if you go through this tutorial, you'll get it all. And then let me mention one thing, which is this managing the question database. I had several groups get this and they're done with this and they don't need to worry about it anymore. But I want to mention for the ones who haven't, the questions are not in here. Okay, so like the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS plus whatever images plus whatever else you upload, none of that contains the questions. The questions are in a Google Sheet. And if you go to the code at the top, it points to a Google Sheet. So on the where's my thing here? On the getting started thing that I posted, I made a link to it because it's a little hard to find. You have to do some detective work. But this is what they made for the template. And it has categories at the top and then questions, starting with 0, by the way, but it doesn't really matter because they're randomized. You give it a category, you give it a question, and 4 choices. It does them in random order, and it randomizes the 4 choices so that it's not going to be the same every time. Although you could change that. I wouldn't recommend it early on, but if you get late in the process and you want to, for example, you want to have the questions go in a certain order, you could go into the code and change the randomizing aspect of it. Again, that's something you want to save for later. But what you should do is go make a copy of this so that you don't have to retype all the column headings and everything. And then change yours, put the new categories, the new stuff, the new answers, and you go past this many. Like I said, go up to 10. It, however, won't work right away. You can't just copy the URL and put it in your JavaScript and get it going, because in order to share it, you have to do this thing that says publish to the web. It's gray because this is the template that's not mine. But if you make it, it'll say publish to the web. And there's one problem, which is that your student accounts can't publish to the entire web. If you hit publish to the web, it'll say, oh, you're publishing to Grade or Clark, and you won't be able to turn that off. So what we've done, and this totally works, it's just one extra step, is that you share it with me. Oh, this is not going to show up because it's not mine. But you would share it with me, and then it would be me on the side here that would have a little drop-down box, and you make it owner. If you make me the owner, then I can do publish, get it going, and then you can still edit and share and copy and do all the stuff you can do. It just has to have some other account do the publish part. You might be able to share it with your own account, like make your Gmail at home the owner and then do that, or you might be able to create it entirely with your own account, Gmail, but I'm perfectly happy to do the publish part, and I would recommend it because if you have your other account, you're going to have to log in on your Chromebook and try to have both accounts, and that's always kind of annoying. Often people have a lot of errors come up if they log into their own account on the Chromebook and then their school account on the same Chromebook in different tabs. You end up getting into situations where, like, you click a link and then it doesn't work because it thinks you're using your Gmail, and you have to remove that entirely. You can't just log out, and then the next time you have to log in, you have to create it, and it's a huge hassle. So if you are at home, maybe that's different, but I would recommend just sending it to me, let me do it, and then just go from there. So where are we currently? Your assignments are all in the grade book. I know the grades aren't yet. I gotta get on that. But your assignments, even future ones all the way to the end of the quarter, are in there. And what they say is, 1, do the team contract. You get 10 points. Then do the tutorial, go through all these steps to copy the stuff and get to a point like this where it's just working, then get your question template, make a copy, fill it in with stuff, get it linked, share it with me, all of that. And then the final parts are to make it your own. Change the color, change the image, change the functions, maybe add a button at the beginning to change category, maybe add a button to go back or to skip or to enter your name or anything you can think of. That part, only do it after the tutorial, after the basics setup. If you have a plan, let me know the plan. You might say, hey, we're looking to add a button that lets you retake and compare your score. Or we're going to have a button that lets you, like you get one skip, and then throughout the quiz you can skip one that you don't like. Or we want to have a button that gives you a hint, and maybe you get like 3 hints throughout the whole thing. All of those are possible, and you just want to take your time. Tell me the plan. I might give you some hints. I might say, oh, you might need to look in this function, or you might need to start a new function, or you might need to XYZ. And then you would try it, and then edit it, and then finalize a version, which will be your final your final grade. Your CQA is to do your own version of this, which will not have the same questions, it will not have the same look, it will just have that sort of basic template filled in with your own stuff. So that's it. I know today was mostly recap, but I wanted to say one video that had everything in it, and if you have questions you can ask me on Google Classroom or email, and then today I will enter grades and I will send out parent-teacher conference related stuff. So I'm going to end this now. Thanks for watching. Thanks to the people in the chat who said hello. I know it's only a few, but that's very helpful for me to know that somebody's watching. Thanks.